Welcome to the Whose Body Is It podcast. I'm your host, Isabella Malvin. For those who don't know me, I'm a birth worker, a life coach, hypnotist, and a former liberal feminist turned radical truth teller. On this podcast, I expose the forces at play attempting to control our minds and bodies, such as transgender ideology, pornography, prostitution, and so much more. Together, we'll untangle patriarchal lies as you listen to jaw-dropping interviews with women from around the world. Warning, while listening to this podcast, you might find yourself triggered or perhaps notice where you've been biting your tongue on the issues that matter most to you. In my coaching and hypnosis, I help women and men stop getting triggered by every single thing, cultivate resilience, stop unwanted behaviors, and increase self-confidence. You can book your first session at whosebodyisit.com, and you can find that link in the episode show notes. And I just want to say that it's because of your endless support that I'm able to interview amazing women, get their stories out, and produce regular episodes for you. So with that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. And if you're listening in, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also consider making a financial contribution via the link in my show notes. You can also visit my activist sticker shop. My pro-woman stickers have the power to intercept transhumanist programming. So take a photo of your stickers out in the wild and tag me on Instagram at Whose Body Is It. Okay, so now that we know that Roe v. Wade, in fact, was overturned, you may have felt the panic in the air over the past year. Perhaps you're totally withdrawn from the system, or perhaps you still think that abortion pills and in-clinic abortion is the only way to safely end a pregnancy. Well, in my upcoming retreat with Mary Lou Singleton, we are going to teach you everything you need to know about the art of menstrual extraction. This is one of the lesser known at-home abortion methods, and it's something that you can practice peer-to-peer. So if you're finally ready to step into a community-supported, women-centered, autonomous abortion method, this retreat is for you. We are going to be in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico at the historic La Paloma Hot Springs and Baths. So the retreat is going to be a combination of workshops on fertility awareness method, learning the language of your cervical fluid, menstrual extraction, of course. We're going to also be getting into herbs for abortion, needling, acupuncture, and acupressure for abortion, and so much more. So if you are committed to women's health, maybe you already work with women, or you want to work with women, or maybe you just want to have this under your belt for yourself and the women in your community, this is the retreat for you. There is nothing else like this offered, from my knowledge, at least in North America. And we are so honored to be able to learn from Mary Lou Singleton and also my friend Kate Adair, who is a classical Chinese medicine practitioner. To learn more about the retreat, to book your spot, head to whosebodyisit.com. And we hope to see you the first weekend of February. Without further ado, let's get into this week's story. Hibo Wardere is a Somali-born author, activist, and female genital mutilation survivor based in the UK. At the age of 6, Hebo was bullied on the playground for not being cut. Desperately wanting to fit in, she asked her mother to give her the cut the other girls had. She never imagined the horror she would then be subjected to. As she describes, it was like being butchered alive. For survivors of female genital mutilation, the humiliation doesn't end with the cutting. Its consequences are lifelong, with side effects such as infertility, kidney problems, keloids, painful menstruation and sex, and even maternal death. In this episode, we explore the motivations for mothers to repeat the violence they endured as girls, perpetuating a 3,000-year-old woman-hating practice across cultures and religions, the psychological ramifications for survivors, and what women need to heal. Hebo calls for women everywhere to unite in struggle, as the strength of our shared experience is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Hebo, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today about female genital mutilation. From what I understand, you are like leading this movement against female genital mutilation, specifically in the UK right now. So would you talk about kind of how you came into this work?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for giving me this platform and to the millions of women that I carry and voices for. I don't know if I'm a prominent leader. I am called that, but I don't know if I am. There are amazing sisters of mine who also do similar work to me. I'm in this work particularly. I'm a survivor of it. First of all, number one, it's the huge thing for me is I am somebody who's very well known to this. It's part of my life. I live with it every single day. When I die with it. So it's part of my life, and it's not part of my life because of choice. It wasn't. And for me, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger comes to the mind, and it's about how do I use what hurt me to create change. And that is how I began to use it to create change, to raise awareness, to help save lives and all that.
I'd seen in some of your previous interviews that, when you left your home, you thought, okay, I'm coming to the UK and like I'm
Yeah.
finally away from this. And then you came to find that other refugees or people coming from Somalia, immigrants were
Mm.
practicing FGM in the UK.
Mm-hmm. I haven't met anybody who's practicing, but as our communities, we know that many things go under the radar, many things, and communities are very very well jailed for them for anything to seep through that. So you wouldn't know if anything's happening in that community because they're that quite tight knit. But for me, when I came to UK, I actually thought I left that behind. I thought I'm never going to hear about it. I'm never, but deep inside, subconsciously, I knew like something like this, it can't be left behind. But for me, it's my way of mechanism of coping at that moment. It was, I will never see it. Well, I can't see it, can't bother me, yet I live with it. So that is part of, denying, part of your mental health well-being, sugarcoating things while you're suffering with it. For me, it was like that. And then when I was confronted with it, that is when I unraveled completely.
And how were you confronted with it?
Yeah, I was volunteering in the school where my kids go, and I was assigned to help this 10-year-old girl to help her with her work, writing, and things. And I did that, and she's such a lovely, beautiful young girl. Just reminded me of myself. And I fell in love with her. She was so adorable. And all of a sudden, I'm part of a meeting, which I can't talk, I'm told just to observe. And the mother is saying, I want to go back to my country to see my father who's very ill. And the girl is about to finish primary school, which is literally 1 month away from major exams for her to advance to secondary school. And they are asking her, can you not leave her with somebody else? And she says, I don't have anybody to live with. And I know for a fact she had two grown-up daughters who are married. And penny dropped, and I felt shiver. I literally felt in my whole body something just happened to me, and I just felt so angry, so emotional. And when she left, and the head teacher said, we're thinking that she might be planning to go take her daughter to do FGM. I got so angry at him, and he was like, how dare you talk about FGM? Well, you don't give a training to your staff. Your staff doesn't know anything about FGM. It's not part of the child abuse. How dare you? That's how I answered him back. But I came home and I decided there was an assignment that I was supposed to write about a child abuse that I'm aware or know of or have a proper knowledge. And it turns out to be I wanted to write about FGM. And it was beginning of everything. And I think that is the night that I've ever sat down and looked as an adult, looked back to 6-year-old me and what was happening to her that day. And it was devastating. It was mind-blowing. It was cruel. It was horrific. I felt being mutilated over and over and over again that evening. I just couldn't accept what I was seeing.
Wow.
Yeah.
What ended up happening to the little
So
girl?
I just and I wrote the assignment. I didn't sleep all night. I went the next day to the school with the puffy eyes and everything, and I told the head teacher, "You need to read this assignment." And he looked at it and he said, "Is it your story?" I said, "Yes," because it says there, by Hibo Wardere is my story. And he read and he was very emotional. And the girl, long story short, the girl was taken and she was never brought back. She was never brought back. So for me, everything I do today, I have that 10-year-old in my heart and soul. I carry her with me. And to this day, I don't know. That's about 11 years ago. I have got no idea where she is.
Wow.
But she started me. She helped me stop running and take a deep breath and look at myself and look at my life backwards and see what I have for years, what I have buried and bury it. And that was the most painful part of it.
Oof. Can
Yeah.
you can you talk a little bit about, like, for people who don't, myself included, who don't understand like
Mm.
what the belief
FGM.
system is
Mm.
behind the practice, or not the practice, the abuse, like,
Yeah.
what can you talk a little bit about? I've heard you mention, honor, like a family's
Yes.
honor. Will you talk
So
about that?
for communities, all the communities have a different attachment, belief system attached to this. In my community, with the Somali community, purely they saying they're removing the clitoris to remove your sexual urges so that you don't become sexually insatiable, so that you don't cheat when your husband is away. It's completely numbing you. That's what they're saying. And then stitching you up means that you don't even consider to have sex before marriage. So you are both ways. You can't have sex because there's no space for any penis to go in the first place. You can't even urinate. Then you can't even have a sexual arousal because of what they did. But there's much more to it into why some women, not all, some women can't have sexual arousal. The majority of that comes from the psychological trauma that you've had, because everything that's associated between your leg, you automatically, your brain, your soul, everything about you goes into mode of pain. You can't imagine any pleasure that you are designed to have any pleasure. So those women, most of them need therapy, but most of us don't go to therapy because in our communities we don't talk about sex. We don't even talk about what you call period, let alone sex or women's body. Women's body is filled with embarrassment and all that. So can you imagine women in our communities freely discussing sex? That is something that it never happens, and I do that quite a lot. When I have the women to myself and we're having tea and coffee, and I will say, "Okay, so let's talk about sex," and they'll go, "Oh," and I'm like, "How many kids you've got? 5, 6. Well, clearly you've had sex, haven't you? So let's talk about it." It is that taboo for us to talk about any part of our body. So can I explain what FGM is first to your audience? So
Yes.
under the WHO, that is World Health Organization, there's particularly many types that are put in there, but the most majority are 4 types. So type 1, which is called the clitoridectomy, is either total or partial removal of clitoris. Type 2 is called excision. Again, is either total or partial removal of clitoris, plus some of labia minora is removed. Type 3 is called infibulation. Infibulation means total removal of the clitoris plus both labias, and whatever skin is left, they stitch up, leaving you with tiny hole like a tip of a matchstick. And type 4 is to do with all non-medical procedures like piercing, pricking, all those things. There's one that Ugandan community do called elonging of labias. They pull their labias very hard so that this man can play with this labias and it makes him fully aroused. So things like that. So yeah, cruelty,
Oh
cruelty
my
beyond cruelty.
God.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the idea is that when they're married, the stitches are released or they cut them open?
So it depends on different communities. Some communities will have somebody in the bedroom while they are consummating marriage to make sure that she was a virgin. That means seeing blood. That means seeing this lady scream with pain. In other communities, they will be more humane. And after you're checked by his family, you could be taken to the hospital to be opened up, or the husband forces his way in, and the next morning your family and his family come and check that you've really what do you call it, a virgin full of blood and you've been in pain. So yep, it doesn't end there. The humiliation and the pain doesn't end the day you are cut. It just continues and builds up into worse things.
And then are the women resewn after they have children, or how does it work
No.
once? Okay.
So first of all, in UK, there's a law against that. If you've given birth and you are opened up, you're not allowed to resew yourself. But most of the women are finding difficulty with this because they have known certain way to their genitals to look like, and all of
Mm.
a sudden their genital doesn't look like. It's quite shocking for them to understand it, to even accept that your genital is supposed to look that. When you had something as simple as de-infibulation, which means opening you up so that you can urinate and you can menstruate properly again, women still find it difficult to accept that their urine was coming like a normal one, and your genitals are opened up. They had to have emotional support for them to click that this is how you were designed. This is how your genitals should have been in the first place. Open, nothing should have been shut. So it's not, a lot of them, some of them might not accept and go back home to whatever country they came from and redo it. But in UK, you are followed up because we open you once, you redo that again, you are going to be in trouble. And if you've got a baby girl, so that means you can never take them out of UK ever again. So there is laws against that.
Wow. Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I was living in Tel Aviv for about half a year, and there was a large Eritrean population, and I
Mm-hmm.
was a doula at
Mm-hmm.
the time, and I didn't personally serve this community, but
Yeah.
friends of mine did, and some of the women didn't hadn't even like processed that they were sewn during their birth. Like they would show
Mm-hmm.
up to the hospital ready to give birth, and they
Yeah.
would be partially sewn. And so, like, yeah, just the dissociation that you spoke to. It's not just about the event of
Mm-hmm.
the abuse taking place, but the like lifetime of just never wanting to open your legs again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in in your, I know in your book, and then in other interviews you've done, you've described in detail, what that day was like for you when you were 6 years old. And I think one thing that really stood out to me was that obviously your mother and your aunts were there, and this is an event that is produced by women. Can you
Yeah.
speak to that?
Yeah, because you have to remember our mothers, first of all, in their mind, this is not an abuse. For them, it's not about, I am going to hurt my daughter. This is viciousness. I am going to abuse her. For them, it's not like that. For them, it's part of their life. It's part of the tradition. It's part of the heritage. It's something to be very, very proud of. And in those communities like ours, back home, if you predominantly lived in an area where 100% girls were cut and you didn't cut your daughter, she will experience something called social death, which is no marriage for her, nothing. They will talk about her. They will say she's not virgin, she's dirty, she's this, she's that. So for them, it was something that were expected for them to do. Women have to carry this out in order to make sure that their daughter is marriageable, honors, everything is at stake for them. Not only that, the commercial side of that is there is a commercial side, which means that they get money for it, which is the dowry. I don't know why it's called dowry. It should be called commercial thing. It's dowry, which means that they get a lot of money for that as well. So it is something that everybody gets. And this girl can become such a high commodity, very, expensive asset for her family. So, but the women are expected to carry out this because it's considered to be women thing to do. Men are aware this is happening. Men are aware this is done for them, because some of them do actually want to marry a girl who's cut. They don't want to marry a girl who's not cut. So for them, they are part of it, but it's the women who continue to cut the girls because they are expected to do that.
And how far, like in Somalia, how far does this go back?
3,000 years.
Wow.
3,000 years, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Pharaohs. Pharaohs has brought it to our country, and it is called pharaonic cat, actually. Pharaon cat, pharaonic, the one that's sewing up. It's called pharaonic in Somali. So it was pharaohs that produced, most of the countries, Middle Eastern, African countries, it was pharaohs that introduced this to these countries. It's pre-religion, it predates religion. So when
Wow.
people say it's a religion requirement, it isn't. It's not in Quran, it's not in Torah, it's not in Bible, it's not anybody with book of belief. It actually predates religion, and it's practiced by all Muslim, Christian, Jews, and non-believers. So it's never, ever, ever, ever a religion requirement at all.
Thank you for mentioning that. I'm an intactivist. I'm also against, infant male circumcision as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it justified from a number of women and men, with the point that
Mm-hmm.
well, it's a family member and it's in the, and I'm like, so is FGM. Like,
Yeah.
what difference does that make if it's a
Mm.
family member? Thank you for naming that it isn't religion. That is
No.
fascinating. I didn't know it was 3,000
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Like, how has it been to, maintain your culture and your
Mm-hmm.
like the other beliefs that you used to really hold on to while releasing this? How has that been for you?
Do you know what? Somali culture is absolutely stunning, 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 stunning. To clothes that we wear, to our hospitality, to our food, to everything. Somalis are the most generous people you can ever meet. They really, really are. It's just this part of tradition that consumed so many lives and caused so much havoc in women's life that I hate the most. And I want our women to talk about that. And I want them to have, courage to say enough is enough. We've lost too many women. We've lost too many girls. Enough is enough. But for me, I love my culture. I love everything about it. And I represent it everywhere I go. If I'm invited to go to most prestigious places, I wear my traditional, dera is called, so beautiful. If Western people think they wear sexy clothes, you should see Somali dera. They are the sexy as hell, see through everything.
Wow.
It's designed that way. So we really, really have a beautiful, beautiful culture. And as I said, they're the most friendliest, loving, caring people on earth. It's just this part of the tradition that I need to go. But I love my culture and I always carry it with me.
That's beautiful. As a 3,000-year practice, it seems
Mm-hmm.
pretty important and pretty obvious who the women are and who the men are, who the girls are and who the boys
Mm-hmm.
are, and
Mm-hmm.
that just the nature of being born,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as a female in Somalia, like it's the plan is set. Like everybody
Yes.
knows what is going to happen to the little
Yeah.
girl. Is there a
Yeah.
practice for boys?
They do. They do a boys circumcision. They do that. But for the girls, for me, for the girls, what they do, I don't agree with any child's genitals touch. First of all, let me be clear about that. I don't agree at all. I've had a lot of boys who've been, circumcised and had major problems. So I am
Right.
never ever diminishing that. I just don't want it to be mixed together because they're two separate issues. What happens to the girls is cruel beyond cruel. What happens to the girls can cause her to be infertile, can cause her to be sexually inactive, can cause her to have a major kidney problems, can cause her to have keloids, can cause her death during giving birth. It does cause maternal death. It's difficult, painful period, difficult sex. The list it keeps on going. Now, don't even go on and psychological and emotional and the physical problems that you have for life. It's there for life. So for
Yeah.
me, it's a quite separate issue. And they do that to the boys in our countries too. They do. Which I thought, in my opinion, I thought it was a religion requirement, but I come to find that is actually called sunnah, which is a choice
Hmm.
that a parent can make the choice whether they want to circumcise or not, which I didn't know that part before.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so in Somalia today, like,
Mhm.
is it still unusual for a woman like what are the kind of the stats like how
Things,
pervasive is it?
things, things are changing in Somalia. Predominantly the young ones are changing Somalia. The young girls who've been cut do not want to cut their daughters ever again. The young men who are growing up now don't wanna have any woman cut. They've understood what sex means. They've understood what women's right in pleasure means. The young ones are the ones who are literally going to turn this practice upside down on its head. They don't want to mutilate their children. So that is guaranteed that the future generations, 20, 30 years and from now on, I don't think any man or woman will cut their daughters or boys or whatever. They will never touch that. But at the moment, we still are the highest in the world. Still is 95 and over percent in Somalia.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we backtrack a little bit back to like your experience before
Mm,
you were cut, the girls that, if I remember correctly, the girls at your school, most of them
mm,
had been cut and you
yeah.
know, you kind of wanted to fit in. Can you talk a little bit about like the social
I
pressure?
I was yeah, I was one of those girls. I would say I was very clever. So in the classroom, the only thing I wasn't clever at was maths. I hated maths purely because of the teacher. When I look back at now, he used to hate me a lot. I will do my work really fast, help others as well, and then break time comes, and they're all doing jumping rope and stuff like that. And one of the girls asked me, "Are you cut?" And I said, "No," because for me in my head, cut means are you hurt, or if you cut somewhere, cut your leg, your arm. It never occurred to me on anything. I'm 6 years old. Why would anything else occur to me? So it was no. So after that, the singing of Hebo can't touch Quran, Hebo stinks, Hebo is haram, Hebo is this and that, just kept on happening every day. And one day I went home crying my eyes out to my mom's lap, and I said to her, "Look, whatever the cut is, do it because I can't be doing like that." Never have I ever in my wildest dream thought what was going to happen to me was what they were bullying me into it. I never thought that. No child, 95% of the children, first of all, it's not 95, 98% of the children do not know what's going to happen to them. They don't know. I was given a big party. I was told I was beautiful. I'm going to be a big woman. You're going to be brave, all those things, given presents and all that. But none of them will ever explain exactly what's going to happen to you. None of them will say it. You're just going to find out that morning what's actually happening to you. And for me, after I was mutilated, which was gruesome, which was being butchered alive. I don't have any other word to describe it. Yeah, I mean, like you're hold down, your legs literally pulled so hard before they cut anything else. You're actually screaming from the pain from your legs, and then they start to cut, and there's no words. It's like you go to a lava and get a bucket full of lava and just douse on you from head to toe, and you're just burning. Every single part of you is burning, and it's not even one burn, it's a million burns, because cutting more and more and more, and every time it's more and it's more. It was just most horrific horror. In that heart I experienced things that no human on earth should experience. And when I got better after a few weeks and I went back to the school, and I was never that person, that child again who was friendly, happy, curious, loving. I wasn't like that. I don't know what I was. I was just a child filled with pain. And I went back, and they asked, "So Hibo, are you cut?" And I said, "Yes." "Oh, come on, play with me." And I said, "No, So I just decided, I'm not going to be part of you bullying somebody else to do that. I just stayed alone again. And it was even more alone now because I have so much thing going on in my head of why was I ignored? Why did my mom not listen to my screams? Why they did not help me when I begged for mercy? Why? There were so many things running around in my head. I was jumpy. I was always jumpy. Every time I saw adults talk, I just thought something evil was coming on my way. And that went on for years.
My gosh. I mean, the alone, it didn't even have the benefit of you fitting into a group because you were like, I don't want to be in this
No,
like
no,
this evil group. This is I don't want to be in
no,
this group.
no.
And it's
And
it's it's unbelievable that all those little girls in the schoolyard
mm,
had already been through what you had
yeah,
been through
yeah, yeah.
and were just existing and dissociating and
I think,
soliciting.
yeah, I think looking back for them, that was their way of, I think, coping mechanism or making others be part of them, whatever it was. I can never understand what it was, but I just knew that I can't be part of another girl's pain. And I was prepared. If a girl was segregated like they did to me, I was prepared to take her under my wings. But I've never seen any other girl being segregated because Somalian girls mostly are cut by the age of 2 and 3. So I was very old, 6 years old. I was very old. And when I asked my mother, why did you wait that long? She said, you were too skinny and I was afraid you're going to bleed to death. So I didn't want anything done before
Oh
you.
my God.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was no like anesthetic or anything.
No anesthesia at all. No anesthesia whatsoever. And I mean, the blade touching your skin and cutting, there is no word on earth to describe what that is. There's no words. No one word on earth can describe what that means. Even me telling you now, I have chills from going from my head to my toe because you can never recover from it. You can never heal from that experience. You just learn to cope with it and you learn how to use. For me, it's like talking about it is a therapeutic. Every day I talk about it, it's more, I'm getting more and more, therapy out of that.
Have you met other Somali women who are speaking out like what you're doing? Like how radical it seems very radical. Are there other do you have allies in this specifically from Somalia? I mean, how's it
Yeah,
been like?
I do, but they're quite younger than me. They're about 10 years or 11 years younger than me. I think I am extremely radical when it comes to that. I haven't seen anybody who speaks like me and very, very, very forward and straight talking like me. I haven't seen that. But you talk to women on their own spaces and they are very furious. They have a lot to say. They just don't want to be like me out there because
Mhm.
being me like me it comes with a price, which means you're constantly attacked by your own community. You're constantly, defaced. See everything they do. They say all kind of things about you. But for me, I'm loved. I'm very, very, very loved by all. And for me, that always gives me more fuel to continue. And I say, the more you attack me, the more I know I'm doing is correct because you wouldn't be attacking me if you didn't think deeply this was correct. So I have a radical way of thinking of the abuse that I get as well. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're making progress if they're trying
Yeah.
to shut you down. They see your
Yes.
power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so surreal. First of all, if you are a woman and you talk, for me, it's like, why does it bother you? Why? I'm talking about me and my vagina. I'm not
Mm.
mentioning you, am I? No. So why is it bothering you that much that you have something to say about? Simple answer is because you know I'm talking about the truth and you don't want me to say that. You want
Hmm.
me not to say that. Why? Protecting the community's name and honor is above everything. Everything.
Ah.
So for me, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to protect anything that is evil, that, continues to hurt our girls, continues to take lives of women and girls. Sorry, but 3,000 and more is enough and enough. And it's time we said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the other challenges you face as an activist in
Mm,
this realm?
it's It's, I think the work that I do, humanitarian work, does not pay anything. Humanitarian work is very, very, very lonely, very, very lonely, and financially it's quite, it can be very detrimental to you. And it has been like that for me for years, because I never ever looked at the financial aspect of it. I always looked at this work. I had a hunger. I was a survivor who felt hunger, and nowadays I'm different. Anybody who approaches me, I need you to pay something towards what I'm doing, because it helps the work I'm doing. And I have to say, now I'm in a position where I can say, you know what, things are moving forward, because we've just filed Educate Not Mutilate to become a charity just 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So I'm so proud of that. And I know that I have very, very powerful friends who I couldn't have existed without their, without their support over the years. But what the charity is going to do is bring more support in, and I can do the work I do peacefully that way. And knowing the climate that financially that we're in, it's
Mhm.
horrific for everybody. And for me, people think I'm only about FGM. I'm not. Where I live, everyone comes to me for everything they need, whether it's the home office advice, social service, everything I'm called in for by the community from different backgrounds. And I love that. I love, 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 love that. So it's there's a lot of work to be done, and there's many other challenges, including, as I said, first of all, your community disowning you. That I find it to be the hardest part of it. Anything else, I can just take it on my stride and keep going. Yeah, yeah,
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm gonna link the Educate Not Mutilate link for people to donate,
yeah.
and make a donation myself, obviously for your time. And I'm curious about your relationship with your family, like with
Mhm.
the aunt, your mother and your aunt. If you want to speak to,
It-
how you were able to either forgive or confront
yeah,
or.
I forgave my mother because, when you become a mother yourself, you see things differently. And for me, when I became pregnant first time, I was still upset. I was still carrying so much baggage. And knowing that I was going to be a mother, I felt I cannot go into motherhood with everything that I'm carrying, the anger, the resentment, the hurt, the everything. I just couldn't do it. And in our community, even if you have all those feelings, you still show the respect and love to your parent, which I'm glad I did. And I forgave her, and I forgave her on my own terms. And I never told her for 10 years. I didn't say that I forgave her for 10 years until on her deathbed. She asked me if I forgave her, forgive me. And I said to her, I already have 10 years ago. And she was like, why you didn't tell me? I said that was a private forgiving. It was private forgiving for my own sanity. Now, my auntie also passed away, and I never blamed my auntie for anything, because I never thought my auntie was the one that's supposed to protect me. I always thought it was
Mm,
my mother, because even after I was cut, I could look at my auntie's face, but I couldn't look at my mom's face. I just couldn't. It was too much pain. So for me, my auntie, I had a resentment, but it wasn't as deep as I had for the person that I thought should protect me, should hear me, pitiful screams, should stop to everybody. That was my mother. But I'm so glad I've forgiven them all, because forgiveness is not for everyone, and it does not bring closure. But it made me feel lighter, and
mm,
it allowed me to, to go on and live life and be the mother that I wanted to be.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, it sounds like the pregnancy really
Mm.
shifted. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I understood what her position was. I understood she didn't do it out of hatred or viciousness. This was something that she was expected. She thought she was okay in her daughter's marriage. She was, protecting her daughter's future, and that is how she saw. And that is the part that I accepted afterwards, after 4 decades. That this was
mm,
something that my mother didn't do it out of hurt. It was just what she was expected to do. And unfortunately, she's not with us today. I wish she could be here and see what I do today. I'm pretty much sure she would have been by my side, campaigning with me.
wow.
Yeah,
That would have been incredible. And what
yeah.
about sisters? Like, did you have sisters who
I have,
interpreted the
I
events
have a,
differently?
no, I have an older sister. We don't talk about this at all. Not for a 1 minute. We
What?
never talk about it ever. But she sees my work. She sees everything I do. She's very proud. She tells her friends she's very proud. But
Wow.
we never ever discuss this ever. It's quite very, very I don't know what to say. It's just weird. It is weird, but she's the only sister I have, so I'm not gonna rock the boat and start a conversation that she clearly doesn't want to start. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like the
Yeah.
pain is it's just too much.
I think so. I think so. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I hope
unbelievable.
it is. It is. It shuts people down. This practice has that power of shutting people down completely. And when I speak to the women, the amount of pain they have is quite staggering. Some of them, their description of what happened to them, mine is just nothing to compare to others when they describe what happened to them. So it's a tsunami of women with full of pain that they can't say out loud. They're just literally buried by their pain. It's horrific. It's disgusting that it just keeps on going on this much. Why are the women still, saying it's okay to cut girls? It's not bloody okay to do that. You know it as a mother, you suffer yourself. You go through so many things, and then you look at your daughter and you think, you know what? I'm going to condemn you to the life that I have. You're not a mother. I don't know what the hell you are, but you're not a mother. You're betraying that child's life so much, and you're condemning them to the pain, a lifetime of pain. You're a perpetrator in my eyes. You really are abuser in my eyes, especially when you're in Western world. You really are. There's no escaping that.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, it's absolutely child abuse, whether it's the
Yeah, it's a
mother.
cruel one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it is
really
a cruel.
difficult.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
difficult. Like I spend a lot of my time, talking about like top-down power structures and, male violence and male rapists. And,
Mm, mm,
this is not a realm that I'm used to like
mm,
exploring or talking about
mm,
because it's
mm,
so painful. Like my
mm,
whole world is centering mother baby and honoring the mother as the authority.
Exactly,
And so,
exactly.
and with FGM, it really confronts all of that, as you mentioned, like 3,000 years of programming and of
Mm,
exploiting your
mm,
creation, like
yeah.
your flesh and blood.
But you know what boils my blood is, okay, women come to the Western world. They are very well aware of their human rights. They're very well aware they should be respected for who you are, what they believe in, their rights to get things. They are very, 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 very well aware. If a husband beats up, they're so quick to leave, call the police, they love their rights. Why are you not recognizing this child's rights too? Why are you not? Why? Why are you betraying their trust? Why? How do you look at your child's face and say, you know what, I'm going to take you home. Yeah, I'm going to be mutilating you. It's part of my culture. How? How do you live with yourself? How do you look at that child every day in the face and say, I love you? Because that's not love what you just did. It's not love. That child is never going to be the same again. Their life is completely turned upside down. How
Right.
do you live with yourself? I really want to ask that question to these women.
Mm-hmm.
How? Just
Mm-hmm.
explain to me as a mother how you looked at a child and think, okay, what I done yesterday to you, it's okay. How do you live with yourself?
And in your case, wanted it, you wanted to fit in with the other girls. And so there are parents in the Western world
Yeah.
who are lying to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
even outside of FGM and saying, well,
Mm-hmm.
no, my kid wants it. It's like, how could
What
any
does
kid
she know about
want
that?
an
It's like,
irreversible mutilation surgery, whether there's anesthetic or no anesthetic? I mean,
it's
no
it's
child
like
can understand.
your child doesn't know what they're talking about, but
Of
you
course
as
not.
an adult know what you're talking about. You fully aware what they're talking about. You went through it. You suffer with it. You will die with it. You have a life sentence on you. You absolutely are fully aware. And then you just say, okay, my child wants to fit in, I'm going to do that. It's not how you're supposed to parent. You're supposed to protect your child from all kind of hurtful things. You're supposed to be their protector in emotionally, in psychologically, in physically. You are supposed to be that. You are trusted with a precious human being. You are privileged to have that human being in your hands. You really are. And then you go and you abuse and you trust that in so many ways, you violate it. It's quite staggering. I still can't comprehend that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I really appreciate you. I love I love how direct you are, how fearless you are, and how vulnerable you are in all of your interviews, and to speak on this over and over. It's really
I,
powerful.
I think we have to be. I think as a woman, I think women are unbelievable creatures in this world. I mean, like, we suffer the most cruelest, horrific things on earth, and then we continue to live. That is something that is especially built in us. That is something that, you know, will help us navigate this world, however hurt we are or however tortured souls we are. We continue. And once you find that voice that tells you, talk about this, do something about it, you really don't have fear. You don't have fear at all. You don't. You just see injustice, you see cruelty, you want to do something about that. It's simple as that. Even if it means you repeating your trauma a gazillion times, that really, really hurts you, has an impact on you, you dust yourself, you get up again, and you go. Because you know what's at stake. 11,000 girls every single day globally are mutilated. Some of them will never know their death. Some of them, they begin life of trauma. Over 200 million women, girls walk on earth. I'm one of them. So for me, repeating my story, however impact it has, it's just a drop in an ocean. It really is. I want to say to the world, I want to say to the women and the men outside that world, especially for women, please pass what I'm wearing. Please pass color of my skin, pass the religion I believe, pass everything. See the woman, see the womanhood. That womanhood is the most special bond that is between women on this earth, on the universe. We are bonded by our womanhood. Look at that. Then get involved. Don't be afraid to be a humanist. Being a humanist means you don't see the race, you don't see the religion, you see the human being. Use that. Get involved. Even if it's not from your culture or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a human rights violation. And when a human is hurting, you should hurt too, and you should get involved.
Thank you so much, Hebo.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or family member who needs to hear this content. And if you do share it on social media, don't forget to follow and tag me at Whose Body Is It? So until next time.